All right, now the first thing I want to show you is how to create the basic gray mats. Like I said, we've got one on the outside, one in the middle, and then one under the photo. We can get all three of those pieces out of one sheet of basic gray. I know some of you know how to do this, but when I'm teaching my classes, a lot of people don't, or they're very unconfident with their trimmers. So I just want to show you how to do it and maybe an easy way to do it. So if you'll notice on the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, you've got inches and centimeters across the top and across the bottom, and you also have centimeters down the actual blade guide. So I'm going to cut this into a 1-inch frame. So I'm going to put the edge of the paper to 1 inch. I'm using it on the right hand side, but it doesn't matter if you do it on the left hand side. And I'll come down about 1 inch, which is 2.5 centimeters, and pull the blade down to approximately 28 centimeters. Then line this back up to 1 inch. I can just leave this blade where it is at 28 and then just pull it up and just go up to match that first cut line. Then put it at 1 inch again and pull it down to 28. And the last one is, there we go. Okay, so we're going to pull this out, set this aside for just the moment. Now this piece, you have a nice big chunk. We want to cut it to the right size. And the right size for this particular layout, I will put this all in a PDF, which will accompany the video. So you don't need to write it down, but you want it to be about 9¼ inches square. So we'll just get that cut and ready. Okay, now then we need to then create a frame out of the middle of this. And again, we'll want it to be about 2 centimeters down to about 21 centimeters. Again, put it at the 1 inch mark. This doesn't have to be completely exact, but you want to just get a nice big piece out of here. Now this piece will then be used for your photo mat. You may even want to cut this a little bit skinnier if you're using a bigger photo. If you're using a 5x7, you may find you want to trim just a little bit off your photo to get it to fit, and that generally works out okay. So that will be cut to size when you're ready to do your photo. So in the meantime, you have then 2 frames that will look something like this. Now then, to create the 2 pieces of white, so you've got a bigger one and then a smaller one, you can do the same technique with 1 piece of white cardstock. However, I am just going to use 2. So I'm just going to trim a little bit off of 2 sides of 1 piece of Whisper White cardstock. Don't worry, I'll cut that out of the photo. And then the second piece of white cardstock I will cut to 9 inch by 9 inch. We will use these scrap pieces that you're cutting off, so don't let them get too far away. So 9 inch square. So if you remember, the basic gray mat that we cut out was 9¼ by 9¼ so that should fit quite nicely on the top of there, and this onto the top of that. So that's how we do our cutting until you're ready to put your photo on. Then you can cut those to size to fit your photos. Oops, I didn't put that on very straight. Okay, now then to do the background, I'll just set those aside. I'll just do 1 piece for the actual video. We're going to heat emboss a pattern on there. Now I am using the leaf stamp from the Grateful Bunch stamp set and Versamark, and we're going to clear emboss. Now I'm using the Emboss Buddy over the top. This just removes anything sticky. Okay, we got the giggles out. Now we're gonna use bust out laughing. Now we're going to use the Emboss Buddy over the white, and that just removes anything sticky or fingerprints. Shush. And then I'm going to stamp with Versamark using the leaf stamp from the Grateful Bunch. And you won't probably be able to see anything on the video. I'm sure you can't because I can barely see it. And I'm just going to stamp that randomly. I'm just going to do a portion on the video. Stamp that randomly along one side. And then using clear embossing powder. Now we will stamp it around all four sides, but I found it was just easier to just do one side at a time, because otherwise then you've got your fingers in embossing powder. So this is the clear embossing powder, and it's basically finely ground plastic. Then from here it needs to be heated. Actually, before I get the noise started, I'll say you want to heat it until it looks shiny and clear. Right now it looks quite powdery, and you'll be able to see it change. Okay, so after it's heated, I strongly suggest you hold it in by a bright window or in a light and just turn it a little bit, and make sure you don't see any dull or powdery spots because it will need to be heated again. Now I'm not going to stamp and heat all four sides, well actually all 8 sides on the video, but you'll just continue to do that on both pieces. And then this one I have already stamped and embossed on all 4 sides. So what I'm going to do now is show you how to put the color on. Now, I am using Soft Sky, and I'm going to stand up for this. I'm using Soft Sky, but you of course can use any color that you would like. I've just put ink on there, that's why it looks all stripy. And we're going to use a brayer. Now I know some of you maybe haven't used a brayer before. If you don't have one or are really nervous about using it, you can use sponges, but sponges won't give you the really nice graduated color. Well, I haven't been able to achieve it, that brayer will. Now at the time of filming this, the brayer is on the retiring list, so I would suggest you grab it if it's not too late. They are available other places, I would think. We also have a different brayer coming out, which I haven't actually tried yet, so I can't really say if this will work with those or not. So you want to get ink all the way around on the brayer. So you see how I'm picking it up so that you're getting ink around the whole brayer, the whole rubber bit. Now this is the part that people find quite difficult. You'd want to start rolling on the paper, and then you're going to start moving it to the left, rolling it all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom, and moving till you're about 1/3 into the paper. Now you're going to want to do a couple of layers, probably at least, but of course it just depends how dark you want it. Start slowly so that you don't accidentally roll directly onto the cardstock. Also make sure that the surface underneath you is perfectly flat, because anything lumpy on the table or under your paper will show through, like you'll have a big blip in your brayering. Okay. So I don't know how well you can see that on the camera, but you see that you've got some deeper color at the edge, and then it just gradually fades out, and you can put as much or as little ink as you want on there. Then you'll go around and do that on all 4 sides of this piece and all 4 sides of the smaller piece. Then the last thing is I'm taking Smoky Slate and just a sponge, and I've just got some color on the sponge, and starting again on your grid paper. Now I'm just putting a little bit of color just right on the edge, and just swirling it on, and that just gives a nice depth to the color. Yep, you can see that on the video. Okay, once your background is all stamped and then brayered and inked around the edges with the smoky slate, you can go ahead and adhere it to the coordinating frame. Actually, before you adhere it, there's one more thing I want to show you. If you notice, the edges of the papers are slightly distressed, and I've left one that's not, and I'll show you what I've done. I turned it to the back, and you can use a wet washcloth or a spritzer bottle, or if you have one, I'm just using an aqua painter, and I'm just getting it a bit wet. And what the water does is it weakens the paper. So then from there, the paper's really soft, and you can just bend it up or use the edge of your scissors to rough it up. I like to just kind of use my fingers and just bend it. And if it tears a tiny bit, that's okay. And then you get that kind of distressed edge. The advantage to getting it wet is twofold. One, it weakens the paper so it's easily manipulated. But also then when it dries, it's really set like that. It becomes almost hard, like it's been kind of hairsprayed in place. And then you can go ahead and glue that onto your frame. Just need to get over the top of it, make sure it's relatively even. You might want to wait till your paper is completely dry, but I'm just going to go ahead. And then you can put this onto your base. So you can just get it all adhered together how you like it. You can measure it, but I like to just kind of eyeball it. About there in the middle is good. Okay, so it's looking like this so far. Now the next thing we want to do is the title. In this case, it's not words, it's a year. And I'm using the number of years stamp set. You don't have to use 2015 or 2016. You can use obviously a different year, but you could also use a certain grade that someone is in school. You could use an anniversary date. You could use a birth date, like an age, and then have a photo of that person or people corresponding to that number. So this is a stamp set that I think you could use in many ways. Now how I've done this, I'll just bring back the original. If you notice that the 2015 title is somewhat watercolored and a graduated color look, so I want to show you how to do that. I've got the 4 numbers mounted up here onto blocks, and we're going to use 2 colors. We're going to use Blushing Bride and Watermelon Wonder. This one's brand new, so let me just get that out of the plastic. So we've got the light one and the dark, Blushing Bride and Watermelon Wonder, and I have 2 sponge daubers. And we're going to take the Blushing Bride sponge dauber and just dauber the top of the numbers. I might just do 2 of them on the video, and then we'll take the Watermelon Wonder and start daubering at the bottom, and then just more lightly bring the color up to the top so the 2 colors blend together. You won't really be able to see much on the stamp, particularly if they're all stained up like mine are. Then I've got a spritzer here. This is just water. I'm going to take it off camera and just spritzer it about 3 or 4 times until it's just slightly wet but not dripping wet. And then stamp that down. And then you will get that nice graduated color. The advantage to getting it wet is that it will blend the colors but also give you kind of that mottled watercolor look. So you will then do whatever numbers you want, and then with the number of years stamp set, there is currently a bundle with the coordinating dies. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp the 15 out, and then we're going to die cut them out with the numbers. I would suggest that you let them dry just for a minute before you cut them, just because wet paper may sort of tear and not cut as well. And also you could stamp this out 2 or 3 times and then pick whichever ones you like the best. All right, now I've got my background put together. I've put a couple of photos on, and I've die cut out and put on the title. I like that the title is overlapping onto the photo. One design tip is that the elements on your pages should touch each other or somewhat overlap so that they're not different elements just floating independent of each other, so that there's a cohesion. Now the last thing we need to do is add some embellishments and our journaling. So I'm going to start with the secondary title, which is a little stamp from the Grateful Bunch, which is where I've used the leaf stamp earlier. But there's 3 sentiments in here, all of which are very appropriate for scrapbooking. And I'm going to use the "and I'm totally grateful" because I thought that was quite appropriate for a page that was looking back over a year. So I'm using the archival basic gray ink, and I'm just going to stamp directly onto the layout, like so. Now then, the next thing we want to do is add our flowers. And these flowers come from the Botanical Blossom die set, and you get quite a few images in this die set. Very useful. I have already cut these out. I'm just going to scoot that out of the frame a bit. I've already cut them out, so we just need to piece them together. We'll start with the big Watermelon Wonder flower, and we're going to use the Watermelon Wonder ink and the same sponge dauber we used earlier. And just going to dauber some color in there. And don't worry too much about getting it looking totally perfect or anything, because we're going to cover up most of it with the flower center. So just a bit of the Tombow glue in there. And then this is a nice fine dye out of the basic gray. We'll put that there. Now around all the other, well actually all the images, not just the other images, I have lightly sponged the smoky slate around the edges. I did that before we started filming. So that just adds another little depth of color. Now I'm going to also add the Wink of Stella pen. This is a clear shimmer paint. And I'm going to put that on the pink heart. Now you don't want to squeeze, except initially when you open the pen, you'll need to squeeze it to get it going. And it looks like you're not really putting anything on there, but once it dries, you'll see. Let me just add this on. This is a really nice way to add some sparkle without adding too much distraction, because the main focus should always be your photos. So I don't know how well you can really see that in the video, but hopefully I'll get some good pictures close up so there's some real sparkle there. Now going back to our big flower, we're going to add a little pearl in the middle, and I'm going to use the Candy Dot Brad bases. So just going to pierce a hole through there, add the Brad base. And these, although they were designed to fit the candy dots, they actually fit perfectly the large pearls and large rhinestones. We're going to use a pearl in this case. Okay, now we can start adding things to our layout. Actually, one more thing, and then we'll start adding things to our layout. I've got some silver thread here. I'm just going to cut a length of that off and just swirl that around on my fingers. And I'm just going to put this, whoops, don't have to be in any exact way, but I'm just going to put this behind the large flower. I probably should have grabbed my tape. I'll just use the dimensional. Just secure that behind. So you've got some kind of sticking out. Might just cut that one off. Just a little bit there. And then we will undo this and put that here about so. But it doesn't really matter. You can just position it wherever you want. And Depending on what photos you have and how big they are, you might position it slightly differently. Okay, then we are going to layer up the 2 little blue flowers. You can also use your bone folder and give these a bit more dimension if you'd like. And we'll put a couple of pearls on those as well, but this time without the brad base, so they're not quite as layered as the bigger flower. I'll just kind of bend those up a bit. Okay, I might just add a couple of swirls of thread behind these as well. I'll just use a bit of Tombow for these. And it's all right if the little ends are hanging out. That just adds a little more interest to it. Okay, and then we'll put that about right there. Oops, the little pearl came off. This might be still slightly wet. So we'll just put that there. And then the other one. Okay, we'll put that one around the corner. I might just scoot this down a little bit. Or maybe not. Then the last thing is we're going to add some, actually almost the last thing, we're going to add some leaves. Now I've turned one leaf around the other way, then it comes out in the die cuts, so that you can have some leaves going one way and some the other way. And these you can just kind of tuck in where you want them. You may want to take some of the end, some of the end off, just so you can tuck them in a little bit easier. Something like that. I'll just take the end off that one too. You can play around with this and get it looking just how you want it. Okay, I keep losing that pearl. I think I'll just get a new one. There we go. Okay, then I've got up in the corner, up in the upper right-hand corner of the photo, we'll have another smaller flower, and we'll repeat the pearl and another little leaf. We can tuck that kind of behind the photo if you want, or you can do it under the flower. And then I've also tucked a little blushing bride heart. I like to have a heart on, all of my layouts. Okay, then from there, we got to do one more thing. I've got the little botanical jewels embellishment, and these are quite cute. And you can just put that wherever you think it fits. I'm going to put it about right there. Okay, then from there you can take the pearls and the rhinestones and the sequins and just add those wherever you want. Now this is the fine tip glue pen. If you haven't seen this, this is, in my opinion, a must-have. It's got a little needle in the lid that fits down into the barrel where the glue comes out so that it never clogs. And I like to just put a little drop of the glue right onto my project where I want to add the sequins. Now this will be interesting because I have really sticky fingers. And you can add pink sequins or white ones or gold ones or a mixture. I might just do a little mixture if I can get them off my fingers. These blushing bride ones are nice because they repeat the color that we've got going on in the title and in the little heart that we cut out. Okay, then I'll do a few rhinestones just scattered around, and you don't need to put too much thought in it, but it's nice to just have a little bit of sparkle. I particularly like these really tiny ones. I think we could use more in a sheet of the tiny ones. And then one of my favorite things to use is on the pearl sheet, the very, very tiny pearls. They're even smaller than the rhinestones, and then you can just add those here and there. It's well worth having a sheet of these. Okay, maybe one right there. Okay, then you can add a few more around if you want. Maybe add one right there. Then the very last thing with our layout is to add the journaling strips. So let me just bring back the original one, and I'll just show you what I've done. What I did was I just opened up a basic Word doc, and from a website called Dafont, DAFONT.com, they have thousands of fonts you can download for free, and this particular one is called Love Letter. I wanted one that looked like a typewriter, but that looked kind of old style and even came out a little bit faded here and there and wasn't really perfect looking. And then I typed out what I wanted to include, double spaced it, and then I brought it down to kind of a medium dark gray color. I first printed it out in black, and it was far too harsh for this particular layout. And then a charcoal, and that was still too harsh, and then brought it down a couple notches even more. So if you get it to a dark, medium dark gray, that's about right. And then I cut it into strips, inked around the edges very lightly with the smoky slate ink, and then just positioned them and glued them on. So I'll go ahead, I've got a few strips here, and you don't have to fill the whole thing, but it is a nice way to get a lot of journaling into one layout. But even if you had just a couple of lines of some meaningful text and maybe one more right there just to balance it, it would look nice. So I hope you give this layout a try, or at least use some of the emboss resist, the brayer ring, the ombre look on your stamps, at least a few of those techniques, and I would love if you would send me a picture of what you've made. Thanks for watching.